They thought I was just a quiet husband who wouldn't notice. My wife laughed behind my back, and her boss thought I'd never catch on. But 6 months ago, I started preparing for the day their lies would finally come crashing down. My name is Daniel Reed. I'm 35, work as a software consultant, mostly remote, which gives me the kind of quiet life I always thought I wanted. I've been married to Lena for 8 years. We weren't flashy, not the social media post everything kind of couple. But I thought we were solid, comfortable, steady. The kind of love that doesn't need constant noise to feel real. We met in college. She was this vibrant, fearless marketing student who lit up every room. I was quieter, more of an observer, but she liked that about me, or at least she used to. Our lives settled into a calm rhythm. We had a modest house just outside the city, 2 cars, weekend movie nights, occasional beach trips. Nothing wild, but it worked. Until slowly it didn't. It started small. She stayed longer at work, said her team was under pressure. I believed her. She was always ambitious, and I respected that. I never wanted to be the guy who got in the way of her success. But over time, things shifted. Her phone buzzed more often at dinner. She stopped making time for our Sunday coffee ritual. Her laugh started sounding different, lighter, but not with me. One evening, I got home early and found her already dressed, makeup done, clearly going somewhere. She said it was a work dinner, last minute. I offered to drop her off. She hesitated, then said her boss was picking the team up. It was the first time I heard about this new boss. I didn't think much of it then, just a name, Darren. I asked what he was like. She said smart, demanding, a little too confident. And she smiled when she said it. Something in me tightened, but I let it pass. I wanted to trust her. I did trust her. Still, I started noticing more of those tiny shifts. Locked phone screens, a different perfume, less eye contact. The house felt colder somehow, even when she was in it. I told myself not to overthink. Maybe we were just going through a phase. Every marriage hits rough patches, right? But deep down, a quiet part of me whispered that something was slipping through my fingers, and I didn't know how to catch it. I just didn't realize yet how far things had already gone. After that night, the work dinner Lena rushed off to, I started paying closer attention. Not obsessively, not yet, just enough to notice what I hadn't before. It was like I'd been looking at our life through a foggy window, and suddenly someone wiped a corner clean. Her routine changed. She used to linger in the mornings, sip coffee while scrolling her phone beside me on the couch. Now she was up early, dressed sharper, phone glued to her hand, eyes darting across the screen like she was waiting for something, someone. She laughed more often, but not with me. Her joy was moving somewhere else, like a light shifting out of my reach. I asked her about work gently. She lit up, going on about the exciting new campaigns, the big clients they were landing, the pressure, the late nights. And always Darren's name popped up. Darren thinks we can double our Q3 numbers, or Darren pushed us into this bold new pitch. Every time she said his name, there was a tone I couldn't quite place. Admiration, fascination. Or something worse. I remember one evening in particular. We were watching TV, or pretending to. Her phone buzzed. She smiled without meaning to and quickly turned the screen away from me. Just reflex. That little flick of the wrist said more than any words could. I didn't say anything, I just stored the moment away. That night I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling. My chest felt heavy, like my heart was learning something before my brain could catch up. But even then, I didn't confront her. I wasn't ready to know. Some truths don't just hurt, they rearrange everything you thought you understood about your life. And I wasn't prepared for that yet. Instead, I tried harder, made her breakfast, sent her good morning texts like I used to when we were dating, took her to that Thai place she loved. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Her mind was somewhere else with someone else. I wasn't angry, not yet, just confused, lonely, trying to figure out if I was imagining things or if the woman lying next to me was quietly becoming a stranger. I didn't know it then, but the answers were already in motion, just waiting for me to stumble into them. It happened on a Wednesday. Funny how ordinary days are the ones that shift everything. I had wrapped up a call with a client earlier than expected and decided to surprise Lena at her office. We used to do that sometimes. Drop by, grab coffee, reconnect between our busy lives. It had been months since the last time I did it, but I figured maybe a little effort could help pull us closer again. I parked outside and headed toward the building, rehearsing something cheesy in my head about missing her smile. When I got to the lobby, I reached for my phone to text her. That's when I saw her through the glass, sitting in the lounge area just off the elevators, facing away from me. She was with someone, A man, tall, broad-shouldered. He leaned in when he spoke, too close to be just professional, and she was laughing. That same light laugh I hadn't heard in weeks. Her body language was open, relaxed, like she belonged in that moment more than she did in hours. Something told me to stay hidden. I stepped back, partially behind a column, watching from the edge of the reflection. I couldn't hear everything, but enough drifted my way. "He never asks questions," I heard her say, almost amused. Then the man, Darren, I was sure of it, replied, "That's why it works, he doesn't get in the way." Lena smirked. "He thinks I'm just stressed, sweet, really." There was a pause, then he leaned closer, his voice lower. "You're amazing at this, he has no idea." Her smile faded just slightly, not guilt, more like control. "And I want to keep it that way, at least until things are lined up." I stepped back, heart thudding like a war drum in my ears. My stomach twisted, the kind of twist that comes when something breaks inside you but hasn't finished falling apart yet. I left before they saw me, drove home in silence, gripping the wheel tighter than I realized. It wasn't just flirting, it wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was real, and it was cruel. But I didn't confront her, not yet, not out of fear, but out of strategy. Because in that moment, something else inside me cracked open. Not just hurt, but clarity. If they thought I was clueless, I needed to stay that way, for now. When I got home that day, I sat in the driveway for 10 minutes, staring at the garage door like it might blink first. Inside was the life I built piece by piece, with a woman I thought I knew. And somewhere in that life was a lie wearing my last name. But I didn't go inside ready to fight. I didn't yell, I didn't accuse, that wasn't me. And honestly, what would it have done? Confirmed what I already knew. No, I needed something better than an argument. I needed protection. Not from her words or even her betrayal, but from what came next. I walked through the front door like everything was normal. She was in the kitchen, laughing on the phone, probably with him. She turned away from me slightly, lowering her voice. I nodded silently and walked upstairs, heart pounding, mind racing. I had no hard evidence, nothing that would hold up if this went legal. And if Lena was already thinking about lining things up, then I had to be 10 steps ahead. That night I stayed up researching, not about cheating or confrontation, about asset protection. Divorce law, marital property, trust funds. It started as a foggy idea, but by sunrise I had a plan. I reached out to a financial advisor I trusted, one of the few people I knew would never let my business become gossip. Over the next week, I moved certain funds quietly, legally, into a trust with my name alone. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. Enough that if this ended badly, I wouldn't be left with empty accounts and a broken heart. I also updated my will, my insurance policies, and my business shares. Not to cut her out, not yet, but to make sure no matter what she did next, she wouldn't catch me sleeping. You see, I didn't want revenge. That's messy, loud, and fueled by pain. I wanted security, control, peace. If she was making plans behind my back, then so was I. And while she spent her nights thinking I was clueless, I spent mine writing the blueprint for my freedom. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I was just waiting for the right moment to stop playing dumb. 2 weeks after I set the trust fund in motion, I caught her. Not just in theory, not just in whispers and guesses, in reality. Tangible, cold. It was a Thursday evening. Lena said she had a team dinner, again. Her excuses had grown so thin I could see straight through them. But I smiled, kissed her on the cheek, and told her to have a good night. As soon as she pulled out of the driveway, I followed, 2 cars back, lights off. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed the truth, not the twisted version she let slip when she forgot I was listening. She didn't drive toward her office. She took the freeway, then exited into a nicer part of the city, old brick buildings, boutique restaurants, dim streetlights. She parked, checked her reflection in the mirror, and walked inside a quiet little rooftop bar. And there he was, Darren. He greeted her with his hand on her lower back. She leaned into him like it was muscle memory. I watched from across the street, hands clenched in my pockets, my breath shallow. Part of me wanted to storm in, shout her name, make a scene that would echo through the city. But I didn't, because in that moment my silence was power. I stayed there for 20 minutes watching. Then I drove home, slowly, calmly. Every beat of my heart hurt, but I reminded myself I already knew. This just confirmed what I'd been preparing for. She got home late, smelling like expensive wine and someone else's cologne. I asked how the dinner went. She nodded vaguely, said she was tired. I smiled. You deserve a break. I'm glad you had a good time. That small moment, it shook her. I could see it in her eyes. For the first time, she looked at me differently, not like a man in the dark, but like someone who might not be. And that's when I knew I had to keep pretending. Because while she thought she had the upper hand, I was gathering truth, building leverage, quietly placing pieces on a board she didn't know she was standing on. She thought she was winning, but I was just getting started. A few days after I caught them at that rooftop bar, something unexpected happened. Darren came to our home. It was a Saturday afternoon. Lena had said she had errands, but instead she walked through the front door with him, smiling, casual, like it was no big deal. I was in the kitchen, pretending to be halfway through making coffee when I heard the door open. "Oh, hey," she said, surprised to find me standing there. "You're home." "Didn't realize we were expecting company," I replied, keeping my tone easy. Darren stepped in behind her, wearing one of those perfectly fitted button-downs, and that smug smile people use when they think they're smarter than you. "Hey, man, Darren, we've heard a lot about each other." I shook his hand, firm, steady. "Daniel, nice to meet you." Lena was fidgeting, not enough for Darren to notice, but I did. Her smile was tighter than usual. She wasn't expecting this meeting either, at least not like this. They said they'd just come by to grab something Lena had left at home, some files. But Darren took his time. He glanced around the living room like he was appraising the space. My space. "You've got a nice place," he said. "Lena tells me you're in tech. Must be good money, huh?" There it was, the dig. He was testing me, measuring me. I gave him a polite nod. "It pays the bills." He looked over at Lena, almost as if he was trying to read whether I was onto them. And to her credit, she played it cool, cooler than I expected. They didn't stay long, just a few awkward minutes of shallow conversation. When they left, Lena avoided eye contact. I stood at the window and watched him put his hand on the small of her back again as they walked to the car. I didn't move, just stared at the driveway until their car turned the corner. That night she was quiet. Over dinner, her fork scraped the plate more than usual. The silence between us wasn't heavy with tension, it was heavy with awareness. She knew something was shifting, so did I. Darren thought walking into my house would intimidate me. But what he really did was walk straight into the last part of my patience. Now it wasn't just about protection anymore. It was personal. I always believed the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who waits, who watches, who plans. And I had waited long enough. That night after Darren's little visit, I sat alone in my office, the one Lena never paid much attention to. It was quiet. Just the hum of the air conditioner and the clicking of my keyboard as I opened the digital vault tied to the trust fund I'd created 6 months earlier. 6 months? That's how long I'd been watching this story unfold from the shadows, while they mistook my silence for stupidity. But what they didn't know was that the very moment I sensed something slipping in our marriage, I'd started locking my world down, carefully, legally, and permanently. The trust was ironclad, built to protect every major asset I had. My business income, investment accounts, inherited property, anything I didn't want dragged into a courtroom if things turned ugly. And now it was time to move to the next phase. I triggered the clause I had quietly placed in the agreement, the one that restricted any joint access if evidence of betrayal surfaced. I attached the files I had collected, screenshots, location logs, voice memos, and yes, even security footage from my car's dashcam the night I followed her. My attorney had coached me on how to collect it all legally. I wasn't just a man catching his wife cheating. I was a man making sure he couldn't be destroyed for loving the wrong person too long. I submitted the trigger notice. The system locked in. By morning, the fund would shift fully under private access. The thing is, I didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. What I felt was grief, sharpened by clarity. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about how easily I'd been erased. How someone could share a bed with you, eat meals with you, smile at you, and still make plans to discard you quietly. I turned off the screen and leaned back in the chair, my hands still shaking, but my chest lighter than it had been in months. She wouldn't feel it yet, not until the walls she thought were hers stopped holding her up. And when she did, she'd realize the man she thought was clueless had just closed the first door in her escape route. Sunday morning came like any other, Sunlight pouring through the windows, the smell of fresh coffee, birds outside our window. But something was different. I was different. Lena walked into the kitchen in one of my old t-shirts like she always used to. She smiled like nothing was wrong. I handed her a cup of coffee just like I always did. We sat at the table together. For a moment, it almost felt normal. But I wasn't playing anymore. "I need to talk to you," I said, setting my mug down gently. She blinked. "About what?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I just said it. "About Darren and everything you thought I didn't know." The color drained from her face so fast I could almost hear the blood rushing out of it. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I kept going, calm, controlled. "I saw you too, at the rooftop bar. I heard what you said about me, about your plans." She swallowed. "Daniel, I'm not finished." I reached into the drawer beside me and pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Evidence. Not to throw in her face, but to remind her I hadn't come unarmed. "You thought I was clueless, that I wouldn't notice you pulling away, that I wouldn't hear the late-night whispers or the extra hours at work that didn't add up." Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't supposed to, Daniel. I didn't plan for it to happen like this." "I know," I said softly. "You planned it to happen quietly, without me noticing. You and Darren thought I'd just keep playing the fool." She tried to touch my hand. I pulled it back. "You need to understand something," I said. "I'm not angry. I'm not here to scream or beg. I already made my decisions months ago. You just didn't see it." Her eyes widened. "What does that mean?" "It means your little side story doesn't have a happy ending. Not at my expense." I stood up, leaving the folder on the table. "Check the bank accounts, the trust. Ask Darren if he can replace what I protected." As I walked away, I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. This wasn't just the end of a lie. It was the beginning of my truth. The call came 2 days later. I was in my office finalizing some back-end contracts when my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. But then it rang again, same number. I answered, half curious. "Daniel, Darren here." His voice was smooth, smug. The kind of voice that assumed I wouldn't hang up. I didn't. "I heard about the little changes you made," he said. "The trust, the accounts, bold move." I didn't respond. Silence works better than sarcasm. "You know, Lena's been pretty upset. She thought you might handle things a bit more gracefully." I laughed just once. "Grace went out the window when you stepped into my marriage." He paused, then his tone shifted, hardened. "Look, I'm not calling to apologize. I'm calling to say this. You're making this ugly. It doesn't have to be. Lena and we're serious, so maybe it's time to stop holding her back." I leaned back in my chair, letting his words hang. This wasn't about love. This was about control, about ego. He didn't just want my wife. He wanted to win something. "You think you're entitled to my life," I said calmly. "My home, my wife, and now what? My business, my future." "I'm saying she'll be moving on," he said. "With or without your permission, and if you drag this out, there'll be consequences. She's not walking away empty-handed." I let out a slow breath. "Darren, I want you to listen carefully." "I'm listening." "You've been playing checkers. I've been playing chess. You walked into a house you thought you owned, smiled at a man you thought was asleep, and tried to take what he built." He didn't speak. I continued, steady and sharp. "Everything you think she had a claim to, she doesn't anymore. Every asset, every contract, protected. Every lie you helped her build, documented." His silence stretched. "You think I'm bluffing?" I asked. "No," he muttered. "I think you're dangerous." I smiled. "No, I'm just awake now." I hung up. That conversation wasn't about her anymore. She was the doorway. But he was the storm trying to tear everything down. And he just realized the man he tried to bury wasn't beneath him. I was already on higher ground. It ended the way all storms do, not with a crash, but with silence. Lena moved out 2 weeks later. No shouting, no grand gestures, just a few cardboard boxes and the quiet click of the front door closing behind her. That was it. She didn't beg, didn't try to fix what had shattered between us. And honestly, I didn't want her to. I'd grieved the marriage long before that moment. Grieved it when she stopped looking me in the eye. When she laughed too hard at texts she wouldn't show me. When she made plans for a future that didn't include me. There was pain, yes, but also peace. The trust fund had done exactly what it was meant to, shield what I'd worked for. The home was legally mine, the business untouched. I didn't lose everything. In fact, I realized I gained something far more valuable myself. Darren tried a few more games, legal threats, backdoor pressure, but they fizzled quickly. He didn't have a legal leg to stand on, and once the trust documents were submitted to the court, their bluff collapsed. The final blow came quietly. My lawyer forwarded me a message from Lena's side. They wished to avoid litigation. No further claims would be made. And just like that, the fight was over. I remember standing in the living room one night, the same one Darren had casually walked through weeks before. It felt different now, like I could finally breathe, like the walls weren't holding secrets anymore. I sat on the couch and turned on the lamp, no noise, no chaos. Just me, and the quiet dignity of surviving something I never saw coming. You know what's strange? I wasn't angry anymore. Not at her, not at him. They did what people like them do, used deception to get what they wanted. But I did something they didn't expect. I stayed calm. I got smart. I didn't burn down the house. I just made sure it had fireproof walls before they ever struck the match. Now I live a different life. Lighter, wiser, alone, yes, but never lonely. Because peace isn't something someone gives you. It's something you fight for. And I earned mine, one silent step at a time.